Hi, my name's Christian Flutter and welcome to Ask Dr. Christian. Have you ever looked at your kid and thought, that's a little bit of an unusual crawl they've got going on? Well, today let's answer the question, is that crawl normal? So what do I mean by normal or abnormal crawling types? Now, typically when we talk about crawling, we expect kids to be doing that standard cross crawl, one hand and the opposite knee and then alternating sides. But some kids do a bit of a different kind of crawling mechanism. Some kids do what we call the bum shuffle or the bum scoot. Some kids do the one-arm drag. Some kids do the bear. Some kids do the caterpillar. It's really quite impressive. Here's a couple of videos just quickly demonstrating. Now, take in mind, this is my 4-year-old son being asked to perform these ones. So in this one here, you can see he's attempting what we do call the tripod or the bum shuffle crawl. And in this one, he's attempting the one-armed drag. So we can see these aren't quite what we'd expect as a stereotypical crawling pattern. Now, back in 1985, Kaput et al. Did a study looking at what is expected of normal crawling patterns. And he found that in most children, a crawling pattern was established by between 7 to 8 months of age. Now, this is reflected in current literature, with a lot of current textbooks and even websites providing information of expecting crawling to occur between 6 to 10 months of age. Now, the thing is, it's expected in a certain way. Well, the development of cross-crawling is actually quite an important process of our brain's maturation and development. When we're first born, a lot of our activities tend to be very much one-sided or straight down. And with the introduction of crossing over our body or cross-crawling, it helps to develop these crossover pathways. Now, this is where we get this saying of we only use 10% of our brain. The pathway that's involved in that process is a crossing over pathway. And yes, it is only around 10%, but don't worry, the other 90% is actually being used for background purposes. Or at least we'd hope so. So does atypical or asymmetrical or an unusual crawling style actually have any impact on my child's development? Well, according to some websites, and this is actually a bit of a concern that I have, no, it doesn't. According to one website, if I may quote it directly, some children never crawl, instead opting for bottom shuffling, slithering on their stomach, or moving directly to pulling up, standing, and walking. It's getting mobile that's important, no matter how your baby does it. And another website saying as long as your child has some form of locomotion by the time he's 9 months old, he's probably fine. My concern with this is it doesn't actually reflect what's in the research. So what happens is Teitelbaum et al., they did a study looking at kids with autism. And they actually found back in 1998 that kids with autism were more likely to have had either a delay in crawling or an atypical crawling pattern. Most notably, they wouldn't be able to put a lot of pressure down on one of their arms and it would buckle more frequently. Now, this could actually be a couple of indicators. There could be a problem inside the arm, or this could actually reflect the changes that we see in brain activity in children with autism. Now, this was furthered in 2010 by Visser and Franzen, who looked at kids with atypical pen grips. Now, they found that children who had an unusual pen grip were more likely to have had an unusual crawling style as well. This suggests to me that the atypical crawling leads to atypical development. Now, why then do we do this atypical crawl? Well, I can think of two possible reasons. The first one may be to do with the actual brain itself. Not saying that your child's got something wrong with their brain, but it may be a change in normal tone. Now, a lot of kids with tone-based problems can actually have a discrepancy of tone left to right. Now, if we don't have adequate tone, we may have a hard time being able to sustain our arm and keep our arm up, propping ourselves up to do the actual crawling maneuver. Now, the second reason we typically see is more biomechanical in nature. In 2017, Dr. Braden Keel and myself, we had a paper published talking about the prevalence of problems of arms and legs and things like that in infants and newborns. And in a study of about 200 odd children, we found that 2.5% had problems in their wrist. Over 70% had problems in their shoulder. Now, if you have a bit of a problem in your wrist or your shoulder, that may impede on your ability to prop yourself up. And this is what we frequently see. We see children adopting a pain avoidance behaviour. They will take their weight and pressure off the affected limb. If you're taking one arm off the ground, you tend to adopt a tripod position or a bum shuffling or bum scooting kind of crawl. So this may be a potential reason behind this atypical or asymmetrical crawling pattern, a simple biomechanical fault. So if you've got a child that has a bit of an atypical or unusual crawling style, it may be worthwhile getting them assessed by your healthcare professional. And if you have any other questions about your child's unusual crawl, you can always ask Dr. Christian.